What's going on, y'all? It's JSmo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man, which should be a pretty quick video because we're just going to go over a couple of battles from over the weekend from Public Influence Battle League's Survivor Series card, and those two battles are Av versus Kid Slade and Swamp versus Snake Eyez. And I did a bunch of predictions. I believe I dropped it Friday for all the events that were going down this past weekend. So Public Influence, which I ended up tuning in for, URL's Nexus card, which we're just going to have to wait till it drops on the app, but I heard Sick versus Chef Trez was good, just from what I heard, and that Coffee bodied Yoshi and J2 bodied Swervo. And if you go online and you look at what the battlers have said, we still have to watch it for ourselves, right? But Yoshi has admitted that she fucked up multiple times and got killed, and Swervo's kind of tweeted something along those same lines as well. So we'll see just how extreme those are in terms of covering Nexus. Chef Trez versus Real Sick was always like the thing for me. That's going to get a review whenever that drops. We'll see if I talk about the others. If they were like body of the year craziness, maybe they'll be included in a video, or I do a video about them. But just some of the things I heard, especially of their battles that you guys don't feel like tuning in for, they seem like pretty cut and dry results. And for this Public Influence card, I only am going to talk about these two battles, and also I have not had the time to like take the notes, rewatch Swamp and Snake, and give it like a full review. So obviously I watched it. I'm going to talk about some quotables and bars, but I'm just going to talk more about just, it's not going to be as detailed as my other reviews. You know, that's as simple as I can put it. But I know Zan versus Jay Gray was the only battle on this card that I feel like held some weight that I wasn't able to watch. But very similar to the Nexus battles, Zan went online and said that she wasn't clean and apologized, and Jay Gray's running around talking about how she whooped her. So it seemed like a lot of people came with the rounds sold separately this weekend. But I haven't watched it, but congratulations to Jay Gray for her victory, since pretty much Dan has already admitted it. But now we can talk about those two main battles from over the weekend. So Av versus Kid Slade. This battle right here is fire. And I might go as far to say, I'd have to like think we're getting to that point in the year where there's a few different really standout battles that I've liked. This might be one of the 5 best battles that I've watched so far in 2026, at least in my opinion. I thought that you had a very locked-in Av. I thought you had a very locked-in Kid Slade. And when I was predicting the battle, I was talking about how their styles kind of contrast to each other, and what Av might be able to do to kind of like close the gap with Slade in terms of maybe rapping ability, and Slade needing more bombs to kind of like match Av, who's going to have tons of quotables per round. You got that from both of them. Like, you got the best version of what they do and a little bit of what the matchup calls for, and I think that's a recipe for a very good battle. So the battle for me, I'll tell you right now, comes down to the first round. And I remember I caught it late. I caught their full second and thirds, but I caught the first late. So I had to go back like retroactively and watch the first. But that is the closest round of the battle, and I think that's where their styles contrast the most. Like, Av is punching beginning to end in the first, like pretty simple. And then it mostly name flipping too. It's not, and you know how tailored Av can be nowadays, but the first for the most part is just name flipping, general punches. But him doing it at a high level, he's one of the best punchers of all time. And Slade really relying heavily on the rapping ability in the first. I think he had a couple of those bombs as he gets to the end of the first. The zipper on Av, it looks like a railroad crossing. I thought that was crazy. One of the better Av flips I've heard in some time too. But Av had the to Kids Bop, tell Kids Bop, take the fucking bitch out, you know, Kids Bop is censored. So I don't have too many written down for both of their first, but they had a lot more than that, and I think it's almost a little preferential. I'm not mad if you edged either of them the first round, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I edged it to Slade. I think he also, what did he have at the end? Headshot, leave Av wide open, no traffic. That was another one at the end of his first where I thought it was a little flurry at the end. That was just enough for me to edge Slade that round. But if you give it to Av 1-0, they're both really good. I'm not mad at it. And then as you get to the second and third, they split it clear. There's not a bad round in the battle, but Av's second is his best round of the battle. And then Kid Slade's third is his best round of the battle. So it's one absolutely worth checking out. I don't know how if like the VOD for it is still up. If it's just like the $6.99 and then you cancel the membership to watch this in Snake and Swamp, I think it's worth it. Like sometimes, with leagues and pay-per-views being like 30, 40, 50 bucks, you might only care about a couple standout matchups. I like the option here that I'm like, oh, I can just pay $7 and get these two battles that I do give a fuck about. And Kid Slade and Av, like I'm saying, is really like that. So no matter how I called it, it's a debatable battle, but I called it to Kid Slade 2-1. Edge in the first round and clear in the third. But like I said, easily you could call it to Av 2-1 in the first two rounds. And it's a good look for both of them. Like, Av just continues to be Av. I think it's a bigger deal for Kid Slade, being that he's, Av's already like has a legendary career, has done the Gnomes, the SMs, almost as full as his resume is going to get. And Kid Slade is still writing his story. And Av is about as big and consistent of a threat as you're going to get, especially as a puncher. And I thought that Ohio crowd specifically might even gravitate more towards Av. They're very engaged, the back-to-back punches, the haymakers building up. But for Slade to really go in there and fight like that and give that type of battle, it's not his first time by any means, but it continues to show why right now is the time to strike while the iron's hot. Put Kid Slade in main event matchups on bigger cards, in some of those bigger matchups. Let him promo it up. It's just the star potential is finally being reached, and this Av battle is just another piece of evidence for that. And then the only other battle to talk about is Swamp versus Snake Eyez. This was the grudge match that people have been looking forward to for quite some time. And when the battle started, I was actually disappointed and worried, to be honest. You get to the first round, I'll tell you right now, and Snake actually starts off the battle, so we'll talk about Snake first. And he has an opener going at the boss, a couple bars about like Swamp hooking up with the boss, and he does this a couple times in the battle, and it's not like too big of a deal. And also the boss is like tied to the career of Swamp like over the last year and a half, 2 years. But with the boss kind of stepping back as well, I don't even know if she manages Swamp anymore, but her stepping back from like battle rap as a whole, at least in the public eye view, it did like they didn't really land. And I don't know if they would have ever landed, but it would have been more prevalent. His manager standing behind him. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but I think just because we're in a little bit of a different time than maybe we were a year ago with Swamp's career, I feel like it was a weird way for him to open his first and how he opened his second. But then from there, Snake has a solid first. The cam, getting in Ohio, the white chocolate bar, the leaking Sweet Baby Rays, pillow of yayo, like Ja Rule. Like, Snake had shit in his first round, and Swamp's first is light. Like, there's a bar, too. I could probably go in there and pick out, his name's Snake, but he ain't wrapped too tight. Like, he had a couple of bars like that were, like, pretty good. Snake versus someone who's cold-blooded. But overall, like, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't the craziest Swamp round. I had Snake up 1-0 clear, and I'm like, all right, with Swamp starting like that, stumbled over a couple of words. Not, like, super noticeable, but, like, I noticed it watching it. Usually if Swamp's going to have an unclean performance, he might have like a lighter first. That's just a pattern. So I'm like, don't let me find out that like Swamp really couldn't think of shit for Snake Eyez. And Snake Eyez about to get an easy win right here and run around right and talk crazy. And then Snake wraps in the second, and he starts off again with some shots at the boss. And also going at a Swamp for his diabetes. Neither of those angles hit. So he kind of started the round slow. But Snake's second is even better than his first round, to be honest with you. Like, Snake is cooking by the back half of his second. I think by that time, he's getting more into, like, the rapping ability. The Air Max bubble bar I thought was crazy. School and Snake, he thinks it's Slytherin. Like, I thought the little Harry Potter bar was cool. So Snake had some stuff, but then Swamp turned up in the second. And really, he turns up for the rest of the battle. But Swamp has, like, a powerful second after. And it was a clear 1-1. I mean, like, anyone I've talked to so far, because I know Snake is after the battle saying like, oh, me in the first two rounds. I don't know anyone that's got Snake winning the second. I like Snake second, though. I think it's his best round of the battle, so maybe it's not the craziest thing, but Swamp went upstairs. It felt like clearly he had snatched the energy back. So even though the battle had started slow, they had both turned up, and it's like a pretty solid 1-1. The third has extra pressure because everyone kind of knows it's probably going to come down to this round. And then, unfortunately, I don't think Snake's content in the third is, like, bad. He has the of course you and raccoons go together, both around trash environments, kind of angling at Swamp about the company he keeps, and like I like that, but it was a short round. Like Snake's third is pretty short, and I don't know if he was like gonna forget material. I don't know if it was like that by design, but he was like, compared to the other rounds, like it felt very quick. And then it doesn't help that Swamp like just continued what he was doing in the second, in the third round. So like after that, not very, that light first, night and day difference. He was at a high level for the last two, and the specific bar, the haymaker for me that put it over, he was already cooking, but he brought up the bar that Rock had, turned them Dior's to fisherman boots, and he's like, I'll stomp them out and turn these Air Force Ones to snake skins. By the time that landed, it was like pretty clear who had won the third round of the battle. So overall, even though, like I said, it started slow, I ended up liking it. I think for the most part, it did live up to the hype and the grudge they had. And I saw, even though they were debating who won after, there seemed to be some respect there between Swamp and Snake. And they'd been talking crazy for years. So you always love how there's like a really real grudge sold, but then once the battle's done, the respect is there between the MCs. Like, that's how it's supposed to go. But I had Swamp 2-1 clear. I had Swamp in the second and third, but I still thought it was a good Snake performance. So overall, I don't think at all it's better than Av versus Kid Slade, but for a main event and the storyline that it had, I thought it paid off. So between Av versus Kid Slade and Swamp versus Snake Eyez, I had Slade 2-1 edge, Swamp 2-1 clear, but I was very happy with it overall. And once again, Public Influence Battle League pulls through and gets the most out of some pretty important matchups on paper. So kudos to them. And like I said, you can check it out on their YouTube memberships if it's still up there for only like $6-7. But that's the only two battles I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to give it some coverage, even though I don't have my notes to do a proper bar for bar. But I think overall, it's not even like a bad look for any of the four battlers I brought up. I mean, Snake losing a grudge match, I just don't feel like that's too uncommon, but he sells the fight. It's rewatchable footage, and who knows, he gets a lot of love in YouTube comments. So it drops there onto their channel, and then all the Snake fans run there, and that's kind of just the Snake Eyez cycle overall. But I want to know your guys' opinions in the comments down below. If you have seen it, how do you feel about Av versus Kid Slade? How do you feel about Swamp versus Snake? And what do you think are like good battles for any of these guys? I feel like Kid Slade, I've been saying it all year, but like he needs to be on the Gnomes, the SMs this year. So what matchups do you want to see for him there? When it comes to Av, like who do you want to see him battle? It feels like the battles that he wants, the Cals, I won't even say he wants a verb battle anymore, but he's mostly going to give shots or battle just other hungry battlers because those guys don't really step outside for him. And then for Swamp, I'm going to say this. Swamp's having one of the best years right now between the Slade battle, this battle with Snake Eyez, and the Ill Will battle on No Cut 2. Granted, he fucked up in the third in that one, but he's been taking some high-level comp, and this is after starting last year, the first half kind of slow. It feels like second half of last year, early half of this year, you're back to getting like the really good version of Swamp that you've been getting for the few years before that. And then who do you want to see Snake battle next? I don't know if he's called anyone out, if there's anyone immediately next on his list. I kind of want to see Snake back on URL sooner rather than later. They're kind of mixing names up. I don't think he's gone or hasn't battled there in a long time because there's any like beef or anything. But even if it's something just like Snake Eyez versus Loso, I want to see him back on URL at some point this year. But any thoughts on how you want him booked, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be back when the Nexus battles drop. So it's been JSmo Reviews again here, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.